The Telephone Call, a stuffed wombat production.
This is the Shirehampton Stuffed Wombat Society with their performance of The Telephone Call. Our story starts in the well-appointed suburban sitting room of Major General Sir Timothy Mugg, OBE, retired. Our hero, for that is what he is snoozing gently in an armchair, a copy of the Times over his face, the pages gently rising and falling with every snore. Somewhere a telephone rings.
Hello?
It's me.
That's you.
No, it's me.
That's what I said.
No, you said it's you, but it's me. You're you.
No, you're you, I'm me.
But if you're me, who am I?
Good point. We can't both be me.
Yes, one's enough.
Speak for yourself.
I thought I was. Or am I speaking for you?
No, I'm speaking for me.
So, who's speaking for me?
Perhaps I am. I can't see you, so you could just be a voice in my head.
Isn't that sort of how phone calls work anyway?
But suppose the phone didn't ring just now. Suppose I imagined it.
But you didn't imagine it.
How do you know?
Because I rang you, and then your phone rang.
Yes, but did it? You know you rang me, but you can't know that my phone rang because you're not here.
But if it didn't ring, why did you answer it?
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just imagined it.
But you're talking to me.
Maybe I'm imagining that too.
But if you're imagining all this, who am I talking to?
To me, but in my imagination.
Well, I don't think much of your imagination. If I was going to imagine someone talking to me on the phone, it wouldn't be me.
Well, of course not. Why would you imagine talking to yourself on the phone? You could just talk to yourself out loud and save the phone bill.
I don't mean that. I mean, I'd imagine talking to someone more interesting.
Such as?
Oh, I don't know. Catherine Zeta-Jones.
And why her?
I can think of a couple of good reasons.
Fna.
Such as her film career and what it's like being married to a superstar like Michael Douglas.
Suppose she wasn't in.
What?
Suppose she wasn't in when you made this imaginary phone call.
But she's bound to be in. It's imaginary.
Not necessarily. It's Catherine Zeta-Jones. I'm sure she's got better things to do than sit around all day waiting for an imaginary phone call from you.
Not in my imagination, she hasn't.
So your Catherine Zeta-Jones just sits by the phone all the time? Doesn't do any filming, doesn't go to any movie premieres, doesn't even walk the dog or do the washing up?
Well, Michael Douglas can do that.
Really? You think Michael Douglas is going to be happy up to his elbows in fairy liquid or filling up a poo bag, knowing that his missus is sitting by the phone waiting for you to call?
You make it sound so sordid. I'm not having an affair with Catherine Zeta-Jones, just a chat on the phone.
That's what they always say. One day it's just a chat on the phone. The next thing you know, two families are torn apart by uncontrollable lust.
Steady on, old boy.
Zung the homewrecker. Doesn't sound good, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't.
Soon it'll be all over the front pages and you'll be hounded by the press.
Lummy. I wish I'd never phoned Catherine Zeta-Jones now.
Exactly. You need to be very careful about this. How about somebody else? Someone you won't end up in trouble with.
Well, I suppose I've always wanted to chat with Winston Churchill.
Yes, good choice. Less likely to be uncontrollable lust involved there.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be tricky, though.
Why?
Well, have you got his phone number?
Does that matter?
You can't phone him if you haven't got his number, can you?
Well, that wasn't a problem with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yes, but look how that turned out.
True.
Not to worry, though. I reckon in those days famous people were far more likely to be in the phone book. None of this ex-directory stuff.
Well, that's a result.
So what would you ask, Churchill?
Oh,
Tell you what, to make it easier, you pretend to be Churchill and we can act it out.
okay.
So, ring ring, that's you phoning. Now Churchill says, "Hello, Winston Churchill speaking."
Oh, hello, Sir Winston. This is Dick Zung speaking.
Who?
Sorry?
I said who?
Yes, I heard you. What I mean is, Churchill would know me. He wouldn't ask who I was. If I'm in a position where I could ring him up, he'd probably know who I was.
No, I wouldn't. I've never heard of you.
Look, can you just drop the Churchill voice for a bit? What I'm saying is that Churchill will know me. This whole thing is based on having a phone conversation with a famous person. That's not really going to work if the famous person doesn't know you and you have to introduce yourself to them. They're not going to open up and chat away, are they?
Yeah, I see your point. Okay, let's start again. Ring ring, and hello, Winston Churchill speaking.
Hello, Sir Winston. This is Dick Zung.
Ah, Zung. How good to hear from you, dear chap.
Listen, Mugg, are you going to do that voice all the time?
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's,
Yes.
not very good.
What?
It's not a very good impression of Winston Churchill.
Well, I'm not bloody Rory Bremner, am I?
No, I'm just saying.
If you think it's so easy, you have a go.
But I can't do Churchill if I'm also being me, can I?
Ah, not up to it, eh?
On the contrary, I'm just saying that...
Go on, Mr. Cleverclogs. Let's hear your Churchill.
Oh, very well. Oh, we shall fight them on the beaches, and in the fields, and, in the streets, and, down the pub.
Down the pub?
Well,
Churchill never spoke about fighting them down the pub.
I know. I was just trying to say what he said, and I couldn't remember it.
What a stirring speech that would have been. We shall fight them down the pub, and in the bogs, and up the cucumber aisle in Tesco.
All right. I get the point, old boy. Maybe we should forget the impressions and just get on with the phone calls. Don't want to keep all those famous people hanging about.
Good idea.
So, who would you call?
Well, it's a bit of a strange one.
Who?
In fact, you might think it's too strange.
Who?
Well, Jesus.
Jesus?
Yes,
As in Jesus Christ?
unless you can think of another one.
Well, there is that footballer called Jesus.
Yes, but he's pronounced Jesus, and I'm not that interested in football.
He's probably busy practicing keepy uppies.
Christ?
No, Jesus. I doubt Jesus had much time for football. Too busy with all the miracles and whatnot.
Ah, but you see, that's exactly the sort of thing I could ask him.
What? Whether he played left back for Nazareth United?
Absolutely. Think of all the imaginary phone calls he must get from people asking about turning water into wine, or whether 40 days in the wilderness doesn't get a bit boring, or whether the nails hurt.
Ugh.
He's probably dying to be asked about the smaller stuff.
Like football?
Like football. Or what size sandal he took, or whether he wished he'd kept up the carpentry and had a quieter life, that sort of stuff.
Not the obvious questions for him.
Thanks. Certainly not the stuff the biblical scholars would ask him.
You can say that again.
Certainly not the stuff the biblical scholars would ask him.
No, I meant... Oh, never mind. Isn't there one problem, though?
Which is?
Well, you made all that fuss about me not having Churchill's phone number, and yet you're able to make one call and get Jesus Christ on the blower?
It would take a miracle.
That's certainly true.
No, I said it would take a miracle.
Yes, I heard you. Yeah, oh, I see what you mean. A miracle.
Exactly. No need to have his number. I'd just get straight through.
And talk about football and sandals and carpentry. Don't you think you should go for the bigger stuff?
Such as?
Well, about the third secret of Fatima, and what Mary Magdalene really did for a living, and, well, whether Jesus is real.
I can't ask him that.
Why not?
It's rude. Imagine someone rang you up and asked if you were real. How would you feel about that?
Well, if they did, I would be real, otherwise they wouldn't have called me.
But suppose you weren't. Suppose you were just pretending to be real and someone rang you up and asked you, and you had to say no, you weren't real, and your secret was exposed. So I shan't be asking Jesus that when I call him.
Look, he survived crucifixion. I'm sure he could cope with one slightly rude question.
No, I've gone off the whole idea now.
Sorry.
I wish we'd stuck with Catherine Zeta-Jones now.
Maybe we should just set our sights a bit lower.
Lower than who?
Jesus Christ.
That doesn't narrow it down much.
Well, suppose we filter out certain people.
I hope this isn't going to get racist or sexist.
No, I mean, why don't we filter out the dead?
Isn't that deadest?
Only to zombies. If we filter it down to anyone who's alive now, that narrows it down considerably.
It's much more likely that living people will answer the imaginary phone.
Yes. Then we can filter it again, just randomly. Say, take out anyone with an E in their name.
First name or last name?
Both. Let's really go for it.
So we could talk to, Lulu.
Up to a point. Her real name's Mary Laurie, and that's got 2 E's in it, so that rules her out.
Madonna?
Madonna Louise Ciccone, 2 E's again.
Boris Johnson?
Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, 5 E's.
Crikey, this is tricky. Oh, I know. Barack Obama.
Which one?
What?
Which one? Do you mean Barack Obama, the economist, or his son, the 44th President of the United States?
Well, either. No E's in Barack Obama.
No, but there is one in Hussein, which they both had as their middle name.
Bugger.
Who?
No, I mean bugger, this is difficult. At this rate, we won't be able to make imaginary phone calls to anyone.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure.
Really?
Yes, I can think of at least 2 living people with no E's in their names.
Yes, but would we want to have a conversation with them?
I rather think you might. Mugg?
Why are you saying my name like that?
Well, why do you think? Timothy Mugg.
Well, I don't know, Dick Ah!
I knew you'd get there eventually. We are 2 living people with no E's in our names, and we are happy.
Very happy.
To talk to each other.
Even in imaginary phone calls.
Speaking of which, is that your phone ringing?
But aren't I on the phone to you now?
Unless I'm imaginary.
Good point. Better answer it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello?
It's me.
It's you.
No, it's me.
The telephone call was written by Richard Hall and starred Tim Reed as Timothy Mugg. Richard Hall was the announcer and Dick Zung. Sound effects were all in your head, and it was a stuffed wombat production.